Okay, now we do the graph of y equals 1 over x. Write the numbers down here and do the calculations. Now, don't look at what I did there. Do the calculations yourself and see how you can do. Okay? But now, I'm going to explain it. You should have paused and done that. Thought it through. Okay? If x is negative 2, I'm sorry, then 1 over x is 1 over negative 2. And that's the same as negative 1/2, because when you divide a positive by a negative, the rule is you get a negative. So we have negative 1/2. When x is negative 1, well, 1 divided by negative 1 is, well, the negative of 1 divided by 1, which is negative 1. And now we're going to run into some trouble. What's 1 divided by negative 1/2? Now, unfortunately, as I said, people generally are not very adept at fractions, and this is simply because they're not used enough in the elementary through high school curriculum. But the rules are fairly simple. You knew them at one time, maybe you still do. Okay, most people don't. Okay, how do you divide a fraction, or how do you divide 1 by a fraction? Well, this means 1 divided by negative 1/2, of course. So what do we mean by 1 divided by negative 1/2? Well, I could talk about exactly what that means, and I did in class, but I'm not going to do that right now. It's the same as 1 multiplied by negative 2 over 1. When you divide by a fraction, you multiply by its reciprocal. That's a rule that, should be very ingrained in everybody by the time they get to pre-calculus, but don't feel bad if it isn't in your case, because for most people it's not. Okay, we talk about why that is, but it simply is not very ingrained. I will say you should absolutely make sure you understand the rules for fractions, otherwise it's going to get in your way big time later. Okay, well, anyhow, 1 times negative 2 over 1, well, you could write that as 1 over 1 times negative 2 over 1, so that you can apply the rule for multiplying fractions, and it's going to give you negative 2 over 1, which is just negative 2. And I've left out a step or two, but simply by knowing that you multiply by the reciprocal, I believe you'll quickly get the right result, which is negative 2. Okay? Now, what about, I'm going to leave 1 divided by 0 for a minute. I'm going to divide 1 by 1/2. I'm just going to assert that 1 divided by 1/2 is 2. Everything's the same as it is here, except you don't have that negative sign. So you're going to end up with 2. It's going to look exactly like this. You're going to end up with 2. Now, another way to think of division, okay, if I divide 1 by 1/2, well, let's say I want to divide 6 by 2. I just take that as an example. How do you divide 6 by 2? Well, you can count 2, 4, 6. Okay? You can count to 6 by 2s. You can count to 1 by 1/2s. 1/2, 1. If you want to count to 5 by 1/2, 5 divided by 1/2, you count 1/2, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5. That was 2 handfuls, that's 10. So 1/2 goes into 5 10 times. How many times does 0 go into 1? That's what the meaning would be of 1 divided by 0. Well, let's start counting. We can count to 1 by 1/2. We count to 1 by 1/3. 1/3, 2/3, 3/3 is 1. Okay? How do we count to 1 by zeros? Well, we count by zeros. Okay, we got 0, and then another 0 gives us 0, another 0 gives us, oh, gee, we're not getting anywhere. And we never do get anywhere. We cannot count to 1 by zeros. So 1 over 0 is undefined. Okay, well, Then 1 divided by 1 is 1. 1 divided by 2 is 1/2. So now that we have our values, well, we can sketch our x-axis from -2 to 2 with 0 in the middle. We put a 1 in the middle of each of these intervals, and then we're going to have 1/2 here. Then we're going to do our y-axis, and we really only need the positive part of the y-axis because, no, I'm sorry, it's 1 over x, not 1 over x squared. Okay, so I'm going to put 2 here and -2 down here, more or less equal distances as best I can see from this angle. Okay, well, okay, when x is -2, y, which is 1 over x, is -1/2. Now if there is -2, then here's -1, and -1/2 is about here. So we could project down and across, and we get this point here. And when x is -1, we get -1. Well, here's -1. So if we come down from -1 here and across from -1 here, we've got a point here. And when x is -1/2, then 1 over x is going to be -2. So -1/2 is going to meet -2 somewhere down here. And if we plot the rest of the points, we're going to get the point 1/2, 2, 1, 1, and 2, 1/2. Okay, now we do get into a little conundrum when we try to attach these points, when we try to draw a curve through these points. And I'm going to let you puzzle over that and think about it a little bit and see why that might be difficult. If we went to 1/10 here, how many times does 1/10 go into 1? 1 divided by 1/10 means you count to 1 by 1/10. 1/10, 2/10, up to 10. 1/10 goes into 1 10 times. So we're going to have to go 1/10, which is over here pretty close to the y-axis. We're going to have to go up 10 units here, which is off the board. Or if we went to -1/10, we'd have a -10 here. So, you know, the way this graph behaves as x gets close to 0 is a little bit strange. Okay, I'm not going to address that right now. Okay, again, this is a graph you got to be able to evaluate and sketch in a minute. Okay, now let's look at y equals 2 to the x. Go ahead, I recommend that you make a table for this, that you just sit down and write out a table before you watch me do it. So I'll come back and we'll do that in the next video.